It really helps that they synced up that animation with the music and everything.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that they did the research for this one. So, hello, Shining. What are we playing?
Well, this was just something I figured I might as well just give it a look. I was just going through a bunch of random ROMs one day, and then I just all of a sudden saw that, hey, there was this SNES game based off of popular character Mazinger Z. So I figure I might as well give it a look, because Mazinger Z is pretty awesome and everything.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
And then I just ended up just keep playing it to completion, and then I figured, you know, why don't I just record this?
Yeah. Sounds sensible. Geez, my ongoing Japanese studies really makes all these texts a lot more... I mean, I can make sense of a lot of what's being written, but due to my limited knowledge of kanji, I still can only read a hiragana. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, I suppose it's also probably a bit confusing for anyone that actually ends up stumbling upon this video, so I guess I'll try and sort of explain what's going on here. So essentially, Mazinger Z was a series that started sometime around the 70s by... Actually, shit.
The name you're looking for is Go Nagai.
Right, that guy.
Essentially the creator of the modern idea of super robots. And a lot of other things, because the man is completely insane. But for a general...
thankfully, in most cases, you know, insane in the right way.
I suppose. So for a general plot synopsis, the evil Dr. Hell is hell-bent, see what I did there, on world domination, and he's using giant robots and mutated monstrosities to do it. So we need a hero. Arrivo!
And this, of course, is our protagonist, Koji Kabuto. Who just happens to be the grandson of the guy that created this gigantic robot.
Yep. Giant robots are usually kept in the family, I've realized over the years. Let's get right into the action.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna screw up explaining all of this, but the gameplay is pretty simplistic, all things considered, which is really a bad thing considering the property they're working with here.
Oh, yeah,
it's essentially just a typical beat-em-up where you just move from left to right. And what's also nice is they actually, you know, allow you to be able to use Mazinger Z's Rocket Punch, which is one of its most well-known attacks.
A defining feature, one might say, that became so famous that rocket punches essentially became mimetic in Japanese mecha from that point on.
And there, of course, one of his less-known attacks, the Crouching Punch.
I'm sure he did that once or twice in the anime. But yeah, Mazinger Z is essentially a truly classic style super robot that essentially just has a lot of secret attacks and weapons that he mysteriously forgets about until the end of the episode every time.
Which I guess I can't really blame him for, since sometimes during this playthrough I made the exact same mistake.
Well, there is a lot of content to work with in this game. I mean, the tools available to you are many and varied. And as much as you might want to fall back on the easily cheesable weapons, sparing yourself, such as, you know, shooting armpit tornadoes, is conducive to a better gameplay experience.
So yeah, as people watching this might have noticed, Mazinger Z does have various ways to attack, and you can pretty much just switch to them on the fly. But for some reason they decided to, you know, in order to pull those attacks off, you just have to hold up and press the attack button like the old Castlevania games, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure last time I checked they still had one extra button to work with.
Well, that was a fairly common thing in this era, especially with Japanese games, that they basically went, alright, we essentially have 6 buttons to work with here, you know? We have 4 face button and 2 shoulder buttons. What do? Well, let's put all the controls on 2 buttons. Finishing off with the chest of fire. That's the first boss down. Rockin' Dead Mode 7.
And then of course, this being a Japanese game, they sort of made a typo there when they tried to spell the word bonus. Which is always kind of amusing.
More like boners, am I right? Dramatic close-up.
And then it just goes straight back to the less detailed sprite.
Less flattering as well. He looks like he has a giant boner and is just gripping his chair as hard as he can in order to keep it under control. Episode 2. More punching things.
Pretty much, since what's also interesting is that in the beginning, since Koji didn't really have much experience with, you know, piloting robots like most people, he actually did have trouble being able to use it effectively for the first couple of episodes. To the point that he didn't even know how to properly steer the thing, as shown here. Though, of course, his love interest, Sayaka here, she's a lot more experienced when it comes to piloting robots, so she's able to help him out with that, but then, of course, Koji being, you know, your typical red-blooded protagonist and everything, he's sort of not really all too happy about the fact of, you know, being bad at something.
Yep. All the misplaced pride of a dictator. Gary Oldman keeps giving us some tips.
Yeah, even though I don't really know the language all too well, considering the show and everything, it's not that difficult to follow since it's pretty much, you know, the de facto monster of the week kind of show.
Yeah, and as someone with slowly increasing capacity to read basic Japanese, they're essentially just exchanging nothing at all. They're just discussing the fact that Koji had some trouble, and they're all agreeing and murmuring a lot, and then the man at the control center went, "Oh shit, bad guys." And off we go. I mean, story-wise, there's really not that much you need to know about this game, because every piece of story is essentially just a vehicle for bringing you to the next fight. Very much like in the show.
Well, then I'm running outside and buying all the toys.
Yeah, I suppose. Merchandise.
So another thing that's rather nice about this game is that it, considering it's a licensed game based off of a rather popular Japanese TV show, they put in quite a bit of effort to add in all sorts of various types of enemies from the show.
Yeah, to oftentimes comedic effects, like this winged lipstick with a jet engine on it.
Also, I have no idea why there are those things on the floor there, but whatever.
What, you never been out of the country and seen the giant grinders?
Unfortunately, no.
Scenic Japanese countryside and its industrial dystopia.
And then, of course, here I just decide to be a dick to these guys and just keep using the Rust Hurricane in order to keep them from getting close to me.
Just using some pro tactics, keeping the enemy off screen, confusing the viewers. As platformer brawlers go, this one does seem reasonably competent, at least.
Yeah, we'll readily admit that as a game and everything, it's probably nothing too special, but I'm thinking if you're a fan of the Mazinger Z series, you could definitely do worse.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at other large, franchises turned into games on the SNES, we can look at Godzilla, for example, who has basically a line of stinkers and one game that is at the slightest bit playable. So this could have been a lot worse. And we made it back home.
With, of course, Mount Fuji in the background. Which actually does have a point there, since that's actually part of the story, that the material that Mazinger Z is made out of, which they, of course, decided to call Super Alloy Z, was apparently found at the base of Mount Fuji, and, of course, they decided to call that material Japanium.
Naturally.
Which, yeah, I suppose you might be able to argue that it's a bit nationalistic and everything, but considering that it's can only be found at top of Mount Fuji, it's... I suppose you pretty much have no other choice but to call it Japanium.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, shit. Sweden, my home country for those who are unaware, has 3 minerals that are all named after towns around the mine where they were found. Mainly because they're more or less only found there. So, naming something Japanium when it's found at the base of Mount Fuji is completely realistic. So now you're fighting Disco Ball Man.
Yeah, and he's pretty annoying, as you can see, since the problem is, for most of his attacks, he's pretty much invincible, and he does have quite a bit of range on him, so whenever you try to get close to him, he just simply smacks you around.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
And then, of course, a nuclear explosion there, so maybe you should check to see if everybody's okay over there. Oh, no. Wait, Mazinger Z away.
Yep, off we go.
I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah. Hey!
And then there's this guy.
It's our good friend, Boss.
And pretty much through the entire series, he's only known as Boss due to the fact that even he himself admits that not even the original creator Go Nagai knows his real name.
Yep.
He is essentially the comedy relief character. Though if anything, it is rather impressive that, considering that last I checked, apparently that robot he pilots, he apparently made it himself.
Yep. He has decided one morning that he would be putting together a giant robot, and so he did. Dr. Herno Yatsu. Dr. Hell's bastards. The boss is essentially reporting that he saw evil dudes down in the caverns. And Koji is all like, hey, let's go down there and wreck them. Hell yeah.
And then, of course, now that Mazinger Z is now actually stationed at the Photon Power Laboratory, they're able to pretty much recreate the original intro of the show.
Yep. The launch segment. Then we went underground. And immediately got frickin' wrecked.
Pretty much.
Usually in games like these where something falls on you from above, there is a warning, at least in the form of a shadow, or you can see the thing on screen and it starts wobbling and then falls down. But right here at the start I feel that you didn't really get much warning at all until they actually just dropped on your head. A little bit unfair.
So yeah, this level, this is... I think I can safely say that this is one of the more annoying ones, since... Again, they pretty much decided to add in specific enemies for this level. Except, their tactics are rather, like, those two guys, they pretty much just pop out of the ground for a second in order to shoot at you, and then they just go right back underground. So, sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to actually, get an attack on them in order to stop them from being dicks.
Yep. I want to express my appreciation for Trident Man, though, because do note that he had a different attack if you're crouching. He can actually stab both straight and diagonally downwards.
And then unfortunately there's that guy, which is pretty much not effective in any way. So yeah, might as well also add that this level can also be pretty confusing, since how it works is that you're pretty much expected to take down a certain amount of enemies before the game actually allows you to progress. And here it's not always obvious where they want you to go.
Mainly because they don't actually alert you to the fact that a new path is opened at all. So basically you kill everyone and then you run around in circles going, okay, which direction am I going in?
It also doesn't help that they pretty much just decide to put up a wall or something in order to keep you from running away, and then once you've taken out a certain amount of enemies, that wall just disappears.
Yeah. We saw a spot of magma there. This sworn enemy of Goji Kabuto.
And of course, his other sworn enemy, a bunch of bullshit enemies that just decide to attack him off screen.
And shoot him right in the dick. On the bright side, at least you can defend yourself by blocking. Most brawlers of this type don't actually have a dedicated block whatsoever and just expect you to jump around the screen willy-nilly.
And yeah, I suppose it's probably kind of obvious here, but I suppose just in case anyone's wondering, as you can tell pretty much at the bottom left there, there are pretty much two little meters there, with the top one of course being your current health, and then the one underneath that is essentially your energy meter, which pretty much determines whether or not you'd actually be allowed to use a specific weapon, which will use a certain amount of energy.
There we have the Belmont bot, whipping you from slightly off screen.
Which, again, isn't really all that effective when I could just simply stay at a distance and just keep shooting him with photon lasers or rocket punchers.
He did not think his cunning plan quite all the way through.
Not really.
But hey...
Though I guess considering that, you know, Dr. Hell just found these things on some remote island and everything, I guess there are probably bound to be a couple of stinkers in there.
Yeah. Can't ask for too much from a treasure trove of ancient weapons.
Yes, some might notice that around there when I decided to use the rocket punch, it was a slightly different color, as I pretty much tried to distract you from, you know, trying to make that jump. That apparently one of the items that you're able to pick up, where, you know, the other is just simply a simple health pickup, the other one actually does allow you to give a sort of temporary boost to your rocket punch. Though of course the problem is it hardly ever shows up, so
I hope
it doesn't really help all that much. Yeah, the track guides sometimes they're easy and sometimes they're not, mostly due to the fact whether or not they decide to actually, you know, try to close the distance. Or they just decide to spin their trident around while getting punched in the face.
Look at me, I'm a helicopter. And there we saw a piece of Glorious literally dropping away.
Pretty much. And then this guy is also pretty annoying due to the fact that, as you can see here, he just flies around and tries to shoot you. Which makes it a little bit hard to actually hit him and everything. But then other times he just decides to fly to one of the sides of the screen and just charge right in at you, and then you can just simply, you know, use Mazinger Z's breast fire in order to take him down. It's only a shame that he hardly ever does it.
Got unlucky with the pattern. And off we fly straight into the cave wall.
Yeah, it's probably okay, since, you know, Mazinger Z is invincible.
Yep.
Which is actually a thing. He really is pretty much invincible. Which, if nothing else, has gotta be really depressing for, the villains. Here, of course, we're introduced to a new character, Brocken, who is essentially just a floating head.
Who may or may not be a vampire.
Well, last I checked, at the very least, it has been, he apparently used to be a Nazi soldier. And then apparently just, of all things, he just ended up dying due to a car accident. And then Dr. Hell just all of a sudden stumbled upon him and figured, you know, he'd be a perfect candidate for my evil army.
I need to fill out my rank of truly, truly dastardly folks. How about a Nazi? Excellent.
Of course, we can't leave out one of the other main villains, Ashura, which has a rather interesting design, since Ashura is half woman and half man.
Split down the middle.
Which also had a rather weird backstory to it. From what I was able to find, apparently Ashura was originally two people. They were apparently lovers during ancient times, but apparently their love was considered forbidden, so apparently as punishment they were mummified and buried alive. And that apparently over the years, while they were pretty much entombed, apparently there was a bit of a cave-in where they were, and apparently all sorts of debris just happened to crush exactly 50% of both of their bodies. Then Dr. Hell stumbled upon them and then figured, you know, might as well just stitch these two halves together.
Yeah. These guys, though, I love these guys. This design just screams, shit, it's nearing the end of the week and this chapter isn't done. What the hell. I'll just put something on paper.
I just like to imagine that he was just scrambling for a design and then he just looked at some random can opener and then just thought, of course.
Of course! Well, that's basically Gona Guy's design process for most of his works. Drinking a bit, watching some Hollywood movies, playing with his figurines, and then he goes, ah! Then something amazing and stupid comes out the other end.
Which was also rather interesting due to the fact that at least one of his original design choices regarding Koji, use of vehicles and everything, was that the flying contraption that he uses in order to connect to Mazinger Z, the Pilder, that apparently wasn't the original choice. Apparently, Gona Guy's original vision for that was Koji actually just syncing up with Mazinger Z with his motorcycle. But then apparently, I think one of the editors at the time pretty much let Gona Guy know that it probably wouldn't be a good idea to use the motorcycle due to the fact that around the same time, another series, Kamen Rider, was pretty popular, which pretty much featured the protagonist using a motorcycle. So he decided to, you know, change it to something else. Though he did manage to reuse the motorcycle idea for a later show.
Now we're fighting that well-known robot Spike Ball Man.
Yeah. They're fairly annoying due to the fact that they While they pretty much curled up into a ball, they're more or less invincible, so you pretty much have no other choice but to just sit there and wait for them to pop out. As shown here. Of course, you could just simply take a couple of pot shots at them.
Blast away and hope for the best.
Of course, putting 3 of them in a row does get old pretty quick.
Especially when they attack you from off-screen. You don't really have much in the way of time to react to that lightning bolt coming at you before it's too late. Lipstick bot just popping a squad.
Pretty much.
I'm curious though, which eyes are the real ones? The one on the chest or the ones hidden by the helmet?
I'm honestly not sure.
It is a mystery.
And then it turns out that you're wrong on both accounts, that their eyes are actually in their claws. Which is probably not the best idea, but hey.
Hey, it keeps your eyes close at hand. Underwater Judo, the most powerful martial art.
And yeah, in case anyone wonders why not just use a Rust Hurricane, apparently while they're underground they're pretty much invincible, so unfortunately that little tactic doesn't work. I suppose this would probably be a good time to mention this particular weapon, the missile. It's pretty much the most devastating attack that Mazinger Z has in his arsenal, at least in this game. The only problem is it pretty much, as you would expect, takes a crap load of energy in order to actually pull it off, so if you end up messing with that, you'll just end up feeling really stupid afterwards. Well, thankfully that didn't happen here, so...
Speaking of really stupid, let's fight the giant seahorse.
It was also really annoying due to the fact that he shoots out tinier seahorses that explode when they come into contact with you, and... he's also pretty much another one of those kinds of enemies whose attacks have quite a bit of range, so... it's kind of difficult to run up to him and actually be able to get a combo off him, so... you're pretty much just stuck with using the standard tactic of just keeping a distance and just shooting rocket punches at the thing.
And then finishing up with a dive kick. Dr. Hell's nose is way too small in that close-up. I can't help but be distracted by it every time.
And then of course here it's just then
base.
of course here we just happen to find a random underground, or at least a underwater base. And I pretty much have no idea what is up with that design.
It's a giant cell phone that fires missiles?
And yeah, might as well mention this right off the bat. Those hooks swinging back and forth, they're really difficult to dodge. So most of the time I just figure, you know, fuck it, just jump right into the, and just hope to God that I'll be able to run past it.
Take the damage to save time. Now time for some elevator action.
And then of course parts of the floor are electrified. So it's pretty much around this point that they figured, you know, might as well put some annoying platforming in there.
Hell yeah. Now that the players had a chance to enjoy our surprisingly competent brawling, let's turn the game into a platformer.
Yeah, those drill arm enemies, they can be rather dangerous if you let them get too close, since their little charging forward attack there isn't really that much recovery time for that one, so if you're unlucky, it is possible to sort of end up taking a lot of damage before you manage to get yourself out of there.
Well, drills are the most powerful mech weapon, we know this.
And these guys are just incredibly annoying, since their main method of attack is to essentially grab you and just start biting. And the fact that you're pretty much stuck on these treadmills and everything doesn't help much either.
You're being conveyed to hell. I'll say that searchlight is dedicated.
Yeah. It does manage to get around. And I suppose since the upcoming boss is probably going to need a bit of information, I might as well mention it now. The boss for this particular level is another robot made by Koji's grandfather, or at least the original design created by Koji's grandfather, called Minerva X. Which is essentially, I suppose all things considered, more or less a female version of the Mazinger Z. And then of course Dr. Hell just stole those plans. But what's rather amusing about it is that due to the fact that he didn't really know how that stuff actually worked, he just ended up following the original plans to the letter. And because of that, when he actually decided to make use of Minerva X, after a while she just simply said, "No, fuck you, I'm pretty much designed to, you know, actually assist Mazinger Z, so I'm betraying you and joining the good guys."
Hoisted upon one's own petard, as it were.
Of course, the thing is with Minerva X, from what I was able to find on the character, it apparently got a little bit odd after a while due to the fact that Minerva X was pretty much designed to assist Mazinger Z, but then it turns out that she really liked Mazinger Z. To the point that she actually got jealous of Sayaka's robot, the Aphrodite A. To the point that she actually tried to destroy it, along with Sayaka in it. So I think at the end they pretty much had no choice but to destroy Minerva X and bury her at sea, I believe. And sorry for interrupting you there, you were saying?
It's fine, I just said that there's basically a good summary of Japanese views of women in general at the time the series was made. A product of its time, as it were. There's an arrow pointing to where we're going that says that there's danger there. Maybe we should stop and rethink it a bit. Well, yep, that time was right. You have entered Crane Hell. Crane Hell has been defeated.
Yeah, there's probably some way to be able to dodge that, but I just never managed to figure it out. So anyway, Minerva X. She's probably one of the more interesting boss fights, since it's essentially that whole fighting an enemy that has more or less the same capabilities that you do.
Yep, it's the mirror match. Running away from the enemy, waiting for your arms to come back. Robot combat is a lot different from humans. Dr. Hell is not amused.
He also probably feels a little bit embarrassed considering that, you know, Minerva X ended up betraying him.
There's only one solution. Throw even more robots at Mazinger Z.
And, yeah, I'm sorry, but that little bob of hair there on the forehead, it just doesn't really work. Looks kind of silly.
It's there to match his mustache. Put a lot of effort in.
So, this is pretty much the final level of the game.
The Hell Egg. No, wait.
Well, I guess it's sort of like it.
Oh shit.
Yeah, those enemies are pretty devastating at close range.
You're fighting Dalsim here as well, I see.
Yeah, they can also be pretty annoying. And then there's one other enemy that shows up later on that that one over there. It's pretty annoying due to the fact that he has that his attacks have quite a bit of range on him, and his primary tactic is to essentially jump around and try to hit you.
He just wants to ask you a question.
Of course, thankfully, if you're slightly higher than them, it tends to confuse them for a bit.
Using your range advantage to its utmost here.
Pretty much.
And I don't blame you. That guy looked like he was a cut above the rest.
Well, it also doesn't help that that's pretty much one of the enemies that does a rather high amount of damage compared to every single other enemy.
Yeah.
And then, of
him
course,
puts you on edge.
electric currents on the floor, just because. Then here we see one of Dr. Hell's storages of mechanical beasts. So thankfully not every single one of them decides to pop out.
I don't think the SNES would be able to handle that. As amusing as it would be.
And then of course it was around there that I just realized that, you know, one of them actually drops a health pickup, but then of course no, I sort of screwed myself over by having him die off screen.
Screen scrolling. Now it's time
And then we
for
fight
red
a
skeleton
slightly upgraded version of the first boss.
Red skeleton.
And then of course I screwed up by switching over to the wrong weapon.
Yep. Bungle to the missile. Cool robots don't look at explosions.
Yeah, of course, as you might notice from the amount of health I have, it's pretty much around this point that the game more or less stops fucking around and actually
Yep.
actively tries to kill you.
Welcome to the final act. Time to die.
Though thankfully, the game does give you a little bit of leeway since, as you might have noticed, that the main menu, you do have continues to work with. Which sort of confused me the first time I played it, due to the fact that when you get a game over, you just get kicked back to the main menu, but as it turns out, you just simply push the start button again in order to start the game, and then it just lets you pick up from where you left off.
Beautifully dodged in that electric corridor, by the way.
Yeah, it seemed like I really lucked out there.
Luck is the most important skill.
It also helps that that enemy doesn't seem to have a specific animation of being able to throw fireballs while crouching.
Here we see the Axemen essentially doing what they were designed to do. Getting close enough to put ridiculous amounts of pressure.
Yeah, this is one of the more tense fights due to the fact that pretty much have to contend with two of those damaging enemies in the game. So thankfully, once you manage to at least take down one of them and keep your distance, you should be fine.
Sorry boys, but we have to split.
Now we have the final boss battle against Dr. Hell, who essentially has three forms. First one, he just simply decides to teleport around and just shoot barrels that has fire just jutting right out of the ground.
He's doing a Dracula, basically.
And then he just points his finger at you and tries to electrocute you and shoot photon lasers. But then eventually he just says, fuck it. I'm just gonna slightly shrink a bit and then just fight Mazinger Z myself.
Hell yeah. I also like that Dr. Hell is essentially an old man robot. His design is really, really basic.
Well, I guess he figured, you know, since all of his mechanical beasts, which were a little bit more extravagant in design, didn't really work, I guess he figured that, you know, the more simplistic design might work better.
I also want to point out that I really love that his fireballs are actually tiny burning heads with his face on them.
And then suddenly his head becomes several sizes bigger.
This is no time to lose your head, Dr. Hell.
This
Still, I
one,
guess-
you're essentially fine as long as you just keep running before he teleports in. The only thing that you'd really need to contend with are those little fireballs that he shoots off.
And off we go. And you finally got your time bounds.
And then he just conveniently ends up crashing right into his island base, probably destroying everything. So yeah, that's pretty much the end of the game. Dr. Hell's dead, presumably, and Mazinger Z just gets to keep being awesome.
Yep.
And then, of course, there's Sayaka, who's just been there and didn't really get to do much in this game.
All for one and one for all. The end. Time for badass credits.
And this is also essentially a recreation of the original credit sequence of the show, which was essentially just Mazinger Z. Fortunately, looking a little bit dopey there, but at least they have the chance to pretty much show off an X-ray of Mazinger Z just so that people know what it looks like on the inside. And also, a fun fact, the company that developed this game just happens to be called Winkysoft. Which is kind of unfortunate, but last time I checked, I'm pretty sure they have medication for that sort of thing.
It's a problem that we're on our way to solving. It's not quite as on the nose though as the old MS-DOS developer Willysoft. Well done. Brilliant work, Shining. A 1cc of Mazinger Z. So what do we take away from this one?
Well, I'd say it's probably a decent way to kill about 40 to 60 minutes if you're bored and have a SNES emulator.
And naturally have complete legal access to a ROM since you own the game?
Yeah, sure.
Very good.
And then, of course, because I just happened to notice it one time when I just left it on the title screen for too long, this game actually has karaoke lyrics taken straight from the show. Which, honestly, is really something that a lot of anime licensed games really should try to strive for.
That was about to say. You have all these image and insert songs, but people never put the karaoke lyrics up.
What's also great is that anime songs during that particular period, unlike today where it's essentially, you know, title songs are mostly selected either because they just happen to be popular at the time or because they more or less fit the theme of the show. Here it's essentially just the singer just going, allow me to give you a basic synopsis of this show's plot.
Let me give you a rundown on Mazinger Z and why it's fucking awesome. Did you know that he can swim through the sky and fly underneath the sea? It should also be noted that this is the song that brought famed Japanese singer and also these days actor Ichiro Mizuki to stardom.
Which he definitely deserves because he's pretty good at his job.
Man's amazing.
And then, of course, it's a bit of a downer here since, yeah.
Literally downed.
So I figured I might as well just add in something at the end here myself. So there we go. I pretty much did what one of the modern Mazinger Z anime series didn't have the balls to do.
Hell yeah. Canon ending.
So in any case, that was pretty much it. So thank you, Arthur, for providing guest commentary for this with me.
My pleasure.
And thank you anyone that stumbled upon this video and decided to stick around to watch the entire thing while listening to two nerds pretty much just talk about a video game based off of a 70s anime.
No better way to spend your evening.
So I guess since that's pretty much it, then I guess it's goodbye.
See ya.